Right now, at this very second, a small moon in our solar system is shooting jets of water hundreds of miles into space. Not steam, not gas, water, from an underground ocean, blasting directly into the void. And in November 2025, two separate research teams published studies that made scientists around the world stop everything they were doing. Because what they found inside those jets wasn't just water. They found the chemical fingerprints of life. Not life itself, not yet, but the exact molecular signatures that appear just before life forms. The same chemistry that existed on early Earth billions of years ago, right before the first living cells appeared. This is Saturn's moon Enceladus. It is 500 kilometers wide, smaller than the UK, and it may be the most important place in the entire solar system. Let's start from the beginning. Enceladus was discovered in 1789 by astronomer William Herschel. For more than 200 years, it was considered utterly unremarkable. Just another frozen, dead ball of ice orbiting Saturn in the cold outer solar system. Then, in 2005, NASA's Cassini spacecraft flew past Enceladus and changed everything. Cassini's cameras captured something that nobody expected: enormous plumes of water vapor and ice erupting from deep cracks near the moon's south pole. Scientists call these cracks tiger stripes. They stretch for hundreds of kilometers across the surface, and from them, constantly, continuously, the ocean inside Enceladus is venting itself into space. This single discovery turned Enceladus from an afterthought into the most compelling target in the search for extraterrestrial life. Here's why. On Earth, the three conditions scientists say are required for life are liquid water, a source of energy, and the right chemistry. For decades, we assumed those conditions were extremely rare in the universe. Enceladus has all three. Beneath its icy crust, estimated to be between 20 and 23 kilometers thick, sits a global liquid saltwater ocean that is roughly 21 to 26 kilometers deep. That ocean stays liquid because of a process called tidal heating. Saturn's immense gravity constantly squeezes and stretches Enceladus as it orbits, like squeezing a rubber ball repeatedly, generating friction that produces heat. Enough heat to keep an entire ocean liquid, billions of miles from the sun, in a place where the surface temperature drops to minus 200 degrees Celsius. And the most extraordinary part? Enceladus is essentially doing our scientific work for us. We don't need to drill through the ice to reach the ocean. The ocean is already launching its own material directly into space. We just have to fly through it and collect the samples. Now let's talk about what was discovered in late 2025. Because this is where things get extraordinary. On November 18, 2025, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory published a landmark study in the journal Nature Astronomy. The research team, led by scientists at Freie Universität Berlin and the University of Washington, had spent years reanalyzing data collected by Cassini during a high-speed close flyby, flying just 21 kilometers above Enceladus's surface. What they found was a collection of organic molecules that had never been detected in the Enceladus system before. Not simple organics, complex ones. Esters, alkenes, ethers. Compounds containing nitrogen and oxygen bonded to carbon in intricate molecular chains. These are the kinds of molecules that appear in the chemical steps just before amino acids form. And amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. And proteins are the building blocks of every living thing we have ever found. Here is the critical detail. These molecules were found in fresh ice grains. Material collected just 21 kilometers from the surface, barely seconds after being ejected from the ocean. They had not been degraded by years of radiation exposure in space. They were pristine samples, directly from the ocean below. As co-author Frank Postberg of Freie Universität Berlin stated, these molecules prove that the complex organics are not products of radiation acting on surface ice. They are genuinely present in Enceladus's subsurface ocean, being produced by active chemistry happening right now, deep beneath the ice. This closed a debate that had lasted years. The chemistry is real. It is happening inside the ocean. And it is happening continuously. Just 3 weeks later, on November 7, 2025, a second paper landed in the journal Science Advances. This one came from researchers at Oxford University, the Southwest Research Institute, and the Planetary Science Institute. And it changed something fundamental about how scientists understand Enceladus. Until this study, all measured heat activity on Enceladus came from one place, the South Pole, where the tiger stripes erupt. Scientists assumed the rest of the moon was largely inactive. This team compared Cassini infrared temperature data from Enceladus's North Pole, taken during polar winter in 2005 and polar summer in 2015. And they found that the North Pole was approximately 7 degrees Kelvin warmer than it should be, with no geysers, no visible activity, nothing to explain the excess heat. The only explanation, heat is leaking upward from the ocean below, conducting through the ice shell even at the North Pole. This has two enormous implications. First, Enceladus has a global heat system. The ocean's warmth is not limited to one region, it permeates the entire moon. This strongly suggests the ocean is truly global, stretching beneath the entire surface. Second, the total heat Enceladus loses, approximately 54 gigawatts combining both poles, closely matches the theoretical predictions for tidal heating input from Saturn. Scientists call this thermal balance. And for life, it is everything. If Enceladus produces too little heat, the ocean freezes. Too much heat, and the ocean chemistry destabilizes. But a perfectly balanced system means the ocean could remain stable and habitable for billions of years. Billions of years is longer than it took for complex life to evolve on Earth. Lead author Georgina Miles from the Southwest Research Institute put it plainly. The energy balance suggests Enceladus has maintained the long-term stability that biochemistry requires. Not for thousands of years. Not millions. Potentially billions. If life exists in Enceladus's ocean, and scientists are increasingly careful to say, if, not, when, it would almost certainly be microbial. Single-celled organisms. Bacteria-like life surviving in total darkness, under enormous pressure, feeding off chemical energy from hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. We call these organisms chemotrophs on Earth, and we have found them in places once considered impossible for life. At the bottom of Earth's deepest ocean trenches, around hydrothermal vents where water reaches hundreds of degrees, entire ecosystems thrive without a single ray of sunlight. Tube worms, crabs, eyeless shrimp, bacteria, all living off chemical reactions rather than photosynthesis. Cassini detected molecular hydrogen in Enceladus's plumes, a direct signal of active hydrothermal chemistry on the seafloor, where hot water interacts with the rocky core and releases energy. On Earth, that same chemistry sustains entire ecosystems. The conditions on Enceladus are not similar to Earth's hydrothermal vents. They are essentially identical. Here is what makes 2025 and 2026 a turning point. We are not just theorizing anymore. We are building the mission to go. In December 2025, ESA, the European Space Agency, officially confirmed that Enceladus has been selected as the primary target for its next major deep space mission, the L4 mission, under ESA's Voyage 2050 program. ESA Director of Science Carol Mundell stated publicly, "The destination is Enceladus, and they have a cosmic deadline. They know when they need to land." Mission adoption is planned for 2034, at which point ESA will be fully committed. The plan, 2 Ariane 6 rockets launch the spacecraft in the early 2040s. It reaches Saturn around 2052 to 2053. It performs multiple close flybys of Enceladus, flying directly through the plumes and collecting fresh ocean samples. And then, it lands on the South Pole, right next to the Tiger Stripes, as close to the hidden ocean as physically possible. The lander will be sterilized before launch and sealed in a bioshield for the entire journey, because if it finds biological signatures, scientists need absolute certainty those signatures did not hitch a ride from Earth. Enceladus study scientist Jorn Helbert said it directly. Enceladus is the one place where we have direct access to a subsurface ocean through active plumes. The combination of all habitability elements and the ability to search for biosignatures in direct ocean samples makes it uniquely compelling. The search for life in the Saturn system is scheduled. Let's take a moment to appreciate what is happening here. A moon smaller than the distance from London to Edinburgh, a moon that was ignored for 200 years, is actively spraying its own ocean into space. And in November 2025, inside those jets, scientists found complex organic chemistry following the exact same molecular pathway that preceded life on Earth. Not similar chemistry, the same pathway. In the same month, a second study confirmed that the ocean producing that chemistry has been thermally balanced, perfectly stable, for potentially billions of years. 2 papers, 1 month, both pointing to the same conclusion. The scientific community has quietly but unmistakably changed its language. Enceladus is no longer described as potentially habitable. The conditions for life are confirmed present. The only remaining question is whether life has taken hold. In the 2050s, we will know.